Don't be afraid of being wrong. It's totally fine. Ask questions. Be curious. Being curious is like one of the most biggest assets you can have.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CFI's Member Spotlight podcast. Today, I am joined by Francis Faucher, and I am so excited to have him here. Francis, welcome, and where do you join us from?
I'm joining in from Montreal right now. Not much snow, but it snowed today. It's a little bit cold.
It's cold everywhere. It's cold where I am.
Yeah.
But to everyone joining us, sometimes we have people from all sorts of different parts of the world. So might be morning, evening, noon, super cold, super hot. But today, on this cold, fine day, I am so excited to speak with you because I'm always hunting around on LinkedIn and other various social platforms that we're on to connect with people to share stories of everyone that is a part of CFI. I've always liked to call this the most accessible coffee chat in the world. And I say it again and again, but not everyone lives in a major metropolitan city. So everyone that is a member of CFI, everyone kind of knows, okay, I'm taking these courses. There's all sorts of people across the world that are taking this. And I wonder what they're doing, where they are in their careers, whether they are, like 20 years in looking for a career change or doing a master's or an undergraduate program, but want to kind of get to know what other people are up to. Because for me, I don't know about you, but I love learning from those around me as much as like from myself. And so I think
one thing I'll say just before we move on, I think that being curious is like one of the biggest assets you can have in life.
Exactly.
Curious about someone's path, history, curious about other stuff, what other people are doing. That is really helpful, and it's really a big asset you can have, especially in finance.
Yeah, and I just find that this is like such a grand statement, and it might sound cheesy, but like life is just like all about learning, and regardless of whatever you're doing, whether it could seem like the smallest thing, it's just kind of like every day you wake up and you do a little different things here and there, and whether it's whether it's your colleague or like your dog or the person that you kind of bump into at the grocery store, there's all sorts of little things that people are always continuously working on and improving on. And so but I wanted to ask you, because I think you have a really interesting and unique career path, about how you got started in your career in finance, and whether the biggest question is always like the one I like to start off with is, did you always have a passion for this? Did you discover it when you were young? Did you go to school for it? Or just how did you get started?
I wanted to be a doctor. So that's how it started. But honestly, when I was in high school, I don't really come from a family where we talk about business, investments, and all stuff like that. What we talked about was more go to school, have good grades, go to university, get a good job, and work until you're 65. Basically the usual path, right? So I wasn't aware of finance and business and stuff like that. So I wanted to be a doctor because when you ask someone what you want to do later, sometimes they go on internet and say, what's the highest paying job? You see doctor. Okay, that's what I want to do later. It's really not.
So you wanted to be a surgeon. You wanted to be a neurosurgeon.
It was a radiologist, basically.
I wanted to be a lawyer. And then I was like, okay, I don't want to do it.
But it's really not for good reasons. It's not the way you should approach life and face like life decisions. But anyways, so basically in college, I went into the science path, basically what we call in French, sciences de la nature, which is where you want, if you want to go, you have physics, you have chemistry courses and stuff like that. But I met someone who, my girlfriend at the time, her father was a businessman. He had a high school degree, and that's it. He started a business, grew it for like 20, 25 years, had a successful exit. So I realized that there was like more to just like work your whole life and that's it. So I got really interested into business, and he was also investing in the stock market. So I got interested also in the stock market. So then I decided, okay, I want to create a business. And someone really gave me a good suggestion. You should go be a CPA or whatever the name that was called at the time, because you need to learn accounting, financial statements, and all this stuff. So what I decided,
that's so interesting that you got your first exposure through your then girlfriend's father.
Yeah.
That's such a like fortuitous way to get exposed to it.
And I don't know if you know if you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
My
have a copy of that on
father
my
is an
bookshelf.
engineer. He worked his whole life for the government. So I really had like these two profiles.
Is he the
Uh,
poor dad?
well, like I mean, he's the poor. He's not poor. He has a good pension. He's retired,
Mhm,
and
but like
like
the mindset.
yeah, exactly. In the sense that he's not taking that much risk. So of course, when I wanted to start a business, like go to school first, get your degree, and then we'll see after, but he's always, my family has always been supportive in what I was doing, so I thank them for that. But yeah, so I looked at what schools were like available, because don't forget, I was in the science path at the time. I was not in the administration path or business path. But by chance, the science profile I had uh, could fit the prerequisite for HEC Montreal, HEC Montreal, which is a good business school in Montreal. Um, so I went there, and what I love about HEC is that there's a core curriculum where you learn about marketing, management, accounting, finance, IT operations, and all this stuff. And then you specialize. One thing that is most important, I think, it's to never stop learning, especially in finance, because the market is changing so much. And whether you learn from a university or via CFI or YouTube or a book, you need to keep learning, because the market, like there's AI right now. Think about it. 5 years ago, people talking about AI, they're crazy and it's never going to exist. It's like in the movies and that's it. Now, if you don't use ChatGPT, well, people are ahead of you. So the market is changing, and there's stuff like that, and you need to get ahead of the curve if you
To be
can.
like a first adopter. Yeah.
Trying to. But yeah, basically, just to close the big bubble I'm trying to make, I went to HSA. One of the most important thing I decided to do is a lot of networking. And by networking a lot, I met people. Yeah, my parents are in real estate. My parents are in private equity. They invest in private companies. Hold on, you can. I knew you could invest in the stock market, but I didn't know you could invest in private companies. I don't come from a background like a finance background or business background. So for me, it was completely new. So the thing that I think was the big haha moment for me is talking to people. When I say it's important to talk to people to understand their history, their background, is because there's always something you don't know. And if it was not for that person who told me, yeah, I had a business, I invest in the stock market, like I didn't know that existed. So don't be afraid to talk to people. You never know what could come out of it. Yeah. So yeah, in a nutshell, basically, I finished my university, and then I go to work to a bank, scale, like jump up the ladder, and retired in 2019 to work on my passions, and which is stock market, real estate, private companies, investment. And I own my consulting and advisory firm, specialized in real estate. Well, not just real estate, but private equity and corporate finance as well. So yeah,
And so
that's
we have a big like I want to talk about the first job you had out of
yeah,
HSA. Was it an undergraduate degree?
yeah, it is.
Okay.
It was.
And so then after HSA and then after going to a bank, tell me what that first job was like and
Yeah.
take me through like what it was in terms of, was it what you expected it was? Was it the job that you wanted? And how long did you do it? What kind of like life lessons maybe did you take away from there? And then how did you springboard to the next one? Because between the first job and where you are today, I feel like there's a lot to share in between.
A lot, definitely. So for me, I wanted, as soon as I started, I should say, I wanted to have a foot in a bank, right? So about, I think it was one or two sessions, I should say, I wanted to work in the bank for the summer, right? So the reason why I say it's always important to network is that you never know if you know someone that could know someone that could help you out, right? So I knew someone. I was working one of the good bank here in Canada, Royal Bank of Canada, or RBC, and I've asked them can you just open the door? Just one introduction. I just want to like introduce me to, let's say, your boss. I just want to have a 30 minutes meeting. That's it. That's all I want. So I went ahead, I had that meeting, and I got the job. Like it was a back office job, nothing client face. It was, and that's very important because it was a back office. It was commercial credit that basically there's a commercial banker that sends his application to the credit department. The credit department approves or decline the application, and then it comes to me if it was approved, and then I just process. That's it. I like do the credit that was approved. Um, but since I loved finance, because you might understand that I'm passionate about finance and I love breathe, eat finance all time, all day. I was always reading the application, and it was funny because there was always the same guy that was always approved first shot. And there was the other guy that was always declined, denied the first shot, and then worked back and forth and then got approved. And it was always the same type of client. There was not much difference, but it was the difference in the application. The same ratios, not much difference, but it was the application that was different. Like the first one was really tight on his like the 5 C's of credit, and like all his application was perfect. The other guy, it was messy, was not that good, it was not that extensive. So that's the reason why it was denied. So it showed a little bit the commercial banking and like the CBCA. You know, you have a designation
Yeah.
as a CBCA, and one of the things is that how you create a good application. And later on, I took that course and like, yeah, I remember in the past, like this would have been useful for the other guy that was always declined. I knew I wanted to be a financial planner for the bank. So basically, I started like the networking. And by the end of my last year, I sort of had a job for an account manager in a bank, in a branch at RBC still. So I finished HSC, I think it was 2014. And by the end of 2014, I had a job at RBC as an account manager. But I wanted to scale. I wanted to be a financial planner. Not as soon as I could, but yeah, I knew there was courses I needed to do, so I got on them. I enrolled in the course, and 2 weeks later, I scheduled the exam and focused on that. So it took me about 1 year later, I got a promotion as a senior account manager. So in 2015 ish, and I finished all my courses because you need to in Quebec. It's called the IQPF. I think it's still the case, but you need to get a license to be a financial planner. So I needed to do all 10 courses and then do that big course and that exam. And by the end of 2016, December 2016, I was passing my exam, and I needed to pass that exam because I already had a job offer to be a financial planner. So I passed the exam and everything worked out. Thank God. But yeah, in 2014, I became a financial planner. And up until like 2019, I worked at RBC as a financial planner.
And like something I want to touch on is, so you say that you developed this great interest in finance and that's what you knew your passion was. But
Yes.
would you also say, and this kind of like will precipitate the next kind of chapter that of your life, but
Yeah.
would you say you were always kind of entrepreneurial? Well,
Not at all.
maybe at a young, really, because I
Not at all.
think
Well,
when someone says they want to go into financial planning, that means that you want to deal with people. And
yeah.
like that means that you want to deal with people at like a retail level. You don't know who's going to walk in the door. And
Yeah.
for me, that is something I could never
Yeah.
handle. So like I stayed in investments and in capital markets because I could not handle that.
No, I would say that I was good with people, right? I don't have a problem. Like talking to you on a podcast right now, it's not a stressful moment. It's not hard for me to talk with people. I actually enjoy it. But being an entrepreneur, I didn't know it existed at the time, so it was not really an option for me. But I would say a salesman, it's not being a salesman, but being a salesman, it's not hard for me. But I think that in business, being a good salesman is really important, especially if you have shareholders, if you have stakeholders like bankers as well. You I don't want to say you're selling a product as a CEO. That's not what I'm saying. It's more like, how could I say? It's you need to be confident in your numbers. If you say things, you need to be confident about what you're saying. You cannot hesitate. Yeah, we're doing okay. We're doing good. No, I'm not sure. No, you need to be confident about what you're telling people. Um, because even if, let's say, you got a shareholder meeting on a public company. People nowadays, you have a transcript of the what was said. You can take the transcript, put it in ChatGPT, analyze that transcript. Yeah, there was hesitant on this and that. It could be a negative um, point that you show to people. So I was not an entrepreneur, but I learned about the entrepreneurial world. But I've always been, I don't want to say good with people, but comfortable with talking with people.
I think you're very good with people, just like based off even this
Thank you.
alone. But as like a financial planner, did you ever have that task of, okay, like you start with the bank, and by this time, after you finish your training, your licensing, all this stuff, we need you to build a book of clients that has like a net worth of X.
Yeah,
Like that's a big pressure. And that's like,
yeah,
that's almost like that is essentially building your business, right? Like
it
your
is
book of business.
definitely, definitely. I would say that as soon as I entered HSA, I became entrepreneur, and I had an entrepreneur mindset for sure. And as a financial planner, you start with like a base salary at first, but
Yeah.
then you switch to 100% commission. So
That's
talking
stressful.
about the entrepreneurial side, you're either good or bad. And what I would say is that at first I was pretty good, but at the end I was not that pretty good, and I'm going to explain why. Um, I've been trading the market since I'm like the past 12 years. I've been investing in real estate for the past 10 years. Um, so when I was a financial planner, at first I was focusing a lot of that, but by the end of it, I was trading the market, like I was trading at the pre-market, and then I was trading the opening, and then I went to work at like 10:30, 11 o'clock. I was able to do that because I was 100% commission, so I can come at work whenever I wanted. And I was more focused on my trading and my real estate investment. So, and I was making more money doing this than I was doing in as a financial planner. So, at one point, it just didn't make sense for me to stay, and it was like I decided to quit. I could have
Yeah, that
continued. I was not.
inflection point where you're like, that's time for the
Yeah,
switch.
yeah, exactly. And for me, it was like you need to be an entrepreneur to do this type of things. If you're not, if you don't have that mentality, you're saying you're more a capital market structure, you're not that entrepreneurial. Don't do what I did, because having a pension, having insurance, having this, like, you don't have necessarily that when you're an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, how you
So
can go to the dentist? It's so expensive.
yeah, exactly. You realize some stuff, dentists and stuff like that are expensive. But that being said, it gave me the freedom to work on these projects. And at the same time, I've built my consulting and advisory. I'm teaching financial engineering applied to real estate via one of my business. I invest in real estate in the US, in Canada. Um, like I've launched funds in the US. We're launching a VC fund now in Quebec. Like it's incredible. So many things you can do when you have, like, you're the master of your own time. When you get back your time, it's totally different ball game, I would say.
So one thing I think our listeners would love to hear, because I always hear, and some people are very bold, and they'll say, in X years' time, like I want to have my own company, I want to be a CEO. But theoretically, like anyone can incorporate and become a CEO. Like I can
Yeah,
become a CEO tomorrow. It doesn't mean I'm a successful one.
exactly.
And but the thing is, like you've been doing this for several years, so like clearly you're successful, and like this is your bread and butter. This is how you're making a
Yeah.
living. But I would love to hear like how did you start? Like after you quit your job at Royal and you are all of a sudden without any of the benefits that you would gain from being with a steady employer, like how did you start? Like what is step number one to starting
Yeah.
your own business, and like what were the most stressful points, exciting points to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I'd say that like I said, I've been trading for like the past 12 years. Of course, at first I lost tons and tons of money. Like when you trade, you read a book or you took a course, you think you're going to be an awesome trader, and you're just a retail trader, and the smart money like just takes your money out of like in a week or two, and then you put more and you put more and more, and you think that because you put more you're going to win, right? No, you're losing again and again. It took me years before I understood some stuff and risk management and all this type of
Do you have a
things.
niche? Like, do you have a special like asset class or anything that you're focused in? Is it real
Mostly
estate?
stocks. I don't. I tried bonds. Well, stocks and options. I've tried futures. I've tried
Futures is a
bonds.
dangerous market to be playing in.
It is. I don't personally like it. I've tried forex. I didn't like it. Um, I'm always coming back to stocks and
But
options
even with
on.
equities, are you interested? Like, do you mainly invest in like industrials? Like, for example, like
It
my family is a
depends.
big in
Yeah.
commodities.
Yeah, basically, it depends on the time frame I'm trying to trade. Let's say I'm day trading. Of course, it's going to be low float stocks with a lot of volatility and that are in play today. So they have a news on it, a catalyst, basically. But what I'm also doing is that I build long short portfolios, right? I'm trying to be market neutral, beta neutral, and I have a mix of long and shorts. Basically, I'm trying to be long mid caps. Depending on like I'm starting with a top down approach where I'm trying to be macro, looking at indicators, and if the indicator says the market is going to be bullish, I'm going to be long cyclical and be short defensive. If the indicator is telling me if my view is bearish, I'm going to be more long defensive and short cyclicals, right? And I'm long always mid caps. I'm not like small cap or large cap, and I'm short always large caps. I don't touch mega caps, and this is just because of the volatility it brings. Small caps are too volatile. They're not like there's not much analyst on these type of stocks, so you don't have a lot of information necessarily. But when you start being a mid cap between 3 and 10 billion, let's say 3 and 15 billions, there's more analysts on the stocks. And my shorts usually are large caps that were either bigger large cap or even mega caps that are on the trending down right now. For quite a while they lost let's say 30% from where they were before, and you see them still going down. So this is the type of trade that I'm doing, but the horizon for this type of trades are like from a 1 to 3 months, right? So I want to move for this stock in a 1 to 3 months. I don't do much long-term investments. That's just a personal preference. I prefer to have it parked in private companies or real estate as well. I do real estate project, development project, value add projects as well. I've touched pretty much all type of assets, or at least analyze all type of assets, industrial, commercial, name it, mixed use, hotels. Anyways, um, yeah, that's a little bit the type of stocks I'm investing, and I'm also an options trader. Um, like on a weekly basis, I'm trying to generate some income out of the SPX or the Nasdaq and stuff like that. Yeah,
And
I
so,
don't know where I was going with all
yeah,
that.
we can get back to, so like after you left Royal, what is
Right,
step
okay,
one?
yeah,
What is step one?
okay.
Like that looks like
Yeah,
nobody
I got you.
knows.
At first, before I left Royal, I wanted to make sure I had a decent income coming in, right? So I was able to live out of the income from Royal. And I got that from my real estate projects. I got that from my trading. Um, and at that point, I was a teacher in financial engineering as well, all from my companies, right? So you want to make sure you have sufficient money on the side and you're able to whatever, be able to live 6 months out of with no income at all. Like, because as you said, anybody can start a business, anybody can be a trader. Go ahead and trade the market. Doesn't mean you're going to be successful. Doesn't mean because you start a business, you're an entrepreneur, right? But doesn't mean you're going to have success. But for me, I think if you want to allow yourself a little bit of time, make sure you have some money on the side. Or if you're young, you just got out of university, do it. You don't have any responsibility. You live with your parents. Do it. It's time. It's the time to make mistake. It doesn't mean that because you're 50 years old, you don't want to do this. It doesn't mean that. What I'm saying is that it's less stressful. You can live with lower means. If you don't make that much money, that's fine. You don't go ahead and buy a Ferrari day one. Don't do that. Make sure you have money on the side, or you don't have financial obligations. That's for sure. And give yourself some time. Try to find something you're passionate about. I'm passionate about football and finance. I'm not gonna go play football, right? I'm not gonna go play football. It doesn't make sense for me to go play football, but I'm passionate about finance. We can talk about finance for hours. I know we have a time frame that we need to respect, so I'm gonna stop there. But find something you're passionate about, and nobody can speak more about that subject than you, in the sense that you want to talk about finance for hours until 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm in, because I love that so much. Find something you're passionate about and start a business with that, because trust me, at sometimes, let's say I was investing in a real estate project. I was low. I was, how do I say, in terms of net worth, I was asset rich and cash poor. In on paper, I was not super rich. I was rich on paper, but I was cash poor, and I was like, "What's the solution? Am I going to go bankrupt?" Like, it's stressful. Having a business is stressful because there's no paycheck that are coming in, right? So that was one of the lowest point where I was like, "Okay, I did a mistake by over leveraging everything, being that low on cash." And that's when I realized, okay, you need to change something. So another thing about being an entrepreneur is that it's okay to fail. I failed so many times, and it's fine. It's okay. Bad project, bad investment, losing money, it's fine. But you need to understand, you need to learn from these mistakes, because having like trade the market for 12 years, you learn stuff. You're a fool if you repeat these mistakes. Like, how many times have I lost money because out of like fear of missing out? The stock was going up, going up, going up. I'm in, then it goes down. I mean, come on. So you learn from these type of mistakes. So yeah, never again I was low on cash, because you learn from these type of things. Yeah,
And a lot of it probably came from your experience as a financial planner as well, right? You probably got a
definitely.
lot of exposure to, and like probably prepared you really well for your next chapter.
I did, but at sometimes I just didn't listen to the advice that I was giving to client. I just said, "Nah, I'm okay. I'm going to be fine." No, I need to follow the right guidance that I gave to my clients in the past, um, because it's the way to do. And if you go outside of, I don't want to say these rules, because they're not rules. You can do whatever you want, but um, you got to be careful with when you bend these rules and you go outside of these rules and stuff like that, because they're there for a reason, right?
So tell us a little bit about your business today and what you do day to day, what keeps you busy.
Yeah. Basically, of course, let's say I'm a fractional CFO for a business. There's many things that I do, right? Of course, the like in the pre-market, I look at the market. I'm less of a day trader now. I'd say I'm a more hands-off trader. But I look at the market definitely at 3:30 every day. I look at the market. I mean, Eastern time, so like 30 minutes before the end of the trading day. Do I need to make adjustment? So I have options plays, that I look if I need to do adjustment on it, either if the market went really up or it went really down. Like, as an example, on Monday, there was adjustment that needed to be done because the market changed a lot overnight over the weekend. So you still need to be active around these type of things. In terms of real estate, of course, you need to follow your projects. You need to analyze the type of deals that are received. I'm the one who, of course, takes care of all the underwriting of every projects. That's one thing as well. Sometimes no real estate projects goes exactly according to what you plan. So you need to like plan for these type of things. Um, what else to do? Of course, with my consulting and advisory, I have mandates for being a fractional CFO. So of course, preparing for, let's say, FP&As, budgeting and budgeting and forecasting. Like do I also do some, depending on the time, but sometimes business valuations. By the way, I'm currently doing my CBV designation. I'm not a CBV yet. I'm doing the exam, so of course I'm studying as well. And that's something I want to say as well. I'm always trying to reserve some time for reading, learning in general. Um, I always want to learn more. So either for the stock market, either for business. And of course, right now we're launching a VC fund. So I have meeting with lawyers, our financial compliance team. So make sure everything goes in the right place. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff to do, but I love it. I
Do you
would
have a
not
business
change
partner that
anything.
you work with?
Depending on what type, on the consulting side, no. But of course, in the funds, I have partners. In real estate, I have partners as well. And stock market, I don't have any partners. But real estate, the thing is that I'm not like, when I say that I'm asset rich, I'm not that rich. I'm not at a point like I don't need anyone yet. That's not what I wanted to say. So I need partners, financial partners. I need partners as well. For the network, because one of my partners, Sebastian, he lives in Florida. He's from Montreal, well, from Quebec, and he moved to Florida, I think 2 years ago. Um, and we have projects in Florida, right? So he's the one that is over there on a day-to-day basis. And if there's a need to have a meeting, jump on a call, no problem. I'm going to be there for sure. And
How did you meet these people?
network. I keep on repeating myself, but
Mhm.
networking is one of the most important thing. If you start a business or you're in finance, like the first job I had at Royal Bank was because of someone I knew. The reason why I invest in the reason why I went from wanting to be a doctor to being in business was because of someone I knew. The reason why I'm in real estate, stock market, private equity is because of someone I knew that gave me an idea. So the way I meet these type of partners is I know you, you know me, I know someone who could be interested in what you're doing. Some of the fractional CFO mandate I had was someone I knew. I know someone who could help your business. Here's the number. Just like I always say, just open a door. Don't sell me. You don't need to sell me. Don't do the job of selling me. I'm gonna do it myself. Just introduce me. Just make me jump on a call for 30 minutes, 15 minutes. Give me 5 minutes, but not more than that. And that's just the way I meet my partners. Like as an example, one of my partners, Sebastian, is someone. Okay, at a networking event, I talked to a guy. He was a lawyer, and I was in real estate. So we just like had a conversation at that time. And at one point, we just went on a lunch and like, yeah, I invest in Florida. So yeah, I know a guy who went from Montreal, Quebec, and he moved to Florida. You need to talk with this guy. Perfect. Schedule a meeting. Perfect. So we had a call. It went well. So, and then we talked further and further, and that's the way we developed that relationship. And then this guy was also involved in a private, let's say, a venture cap partnership with other guys. Um, so yeah, you launch a fund in the US. We're looking for launching a fund in Quebec. It's going to be a venture cap. We're all specialists in startups and like investment and everything, but we never launch a fund. Can you help out? They only have questions for now. Perfect. Ask the question. No problem. We will go for a coffee, and then I help with no intent of being a partner. I just love helping people with their questions. So basically, they ask me a ton of questions. Maybe make me meet the other partners. And at one point, they asked me, "Do you want to be a partner?" I'm gonna like dilute myself. I'm going to give you the shares. And do you want to be a partner? Well, yeah, of course, I'd love to. So I think that networking like gives you so many opportunities, honestly.
Yeah, like the big takeaway, I think a lot of conversations I get is like the most important thing is being genuine and
Yeah.
sincere, honest with your intentions, and always being open to being wrong and learning
Yeah.
and just continuing that growth. But I would love to hear in all of the time that you have been working, so between Royal, being a financial planner, you probably see a lot of crazy things here and there. And then, of course, when you become your own business owner, there's so many amazing people that you meet. But for probably like every like one or two amazing people that you meet, you probably meet like a couple of folks where like, yeah, like I don't think you should ever enter into a business
Mhm.
relationship. I'd love to wrap up the podcast by understanding if you could look back at your career, what are some pieces of advice that you would give yourself based on all the ups and downs that you've had?
Invest in GameStop and Bitcoin when it. No, so I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Honestly speaking, is um, do more due diligence on the partners you're choosing to do business with. Because I was the type of person that, yeah, I got all excited and I was trusting everybody, right? But not everybody has good intentions necessarily. Okay, it's not everybody.
First thing is you go on the government website, go to the provincial legislator, and see if there's any outstanding lawsuits.
Exactly that. But even then, you might not see everything. It's just how can I say, how does the person acts in like in front of everybody, in on the personal side, in front of the public and everything. Um, what does people are saying about that person? Because your reputation and your relationship is really something. Ryan Miller is like someone that I've talked about, and he's always talking about reputation and relationships, right? It's something that you need to be aware of if you have a good reputation or a good relationship with someone. And some people always act with a facade. They're not genuine. They try to appear a really good person, but they're not. So I was a lot. I was trusting too much. I was being naive, I would say. I wasn't doing a due diligence. I was excited in doing a business, and there's a different. There's a difference between um, doing, let's say, a real estate project on a deal by deal basis, in the sense that um, we create a business, your business comes in, your my business comes in, we do the project, we finish the project, and then we go our separate ways, right? That's a deal by deal project. But when you create a business and everybody is now an owner of that business, and then we're going to buy multiple projects via this business, that's different. Because whenever you distribute the profit, let's say, now what are we doing with the money? If you have your own business, not an issue. You do whatever you want with your business, right? I do whatever I want with my business. But if you have a common business, that's when some frictions might happen, because if you're low on cash flow, it's not the time to spend on superficial stuff. um and I'd say, like, the question is, what would be the advice? Is do some due diligence. If you want to start a business, is do some due diligence on the person you're working with, for sure. And like, don't be afraid to network. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions. The worst thing you can, like, if you ask like a question or if you ask for a meeting, the worst answer you're going to have is, no, I'm not available, I'm sorry, right? But if you don't ask that question, you automatically get a no, right? So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid. Like me, when you talk to me on LinkedIn, you talk to me. Are you like open to doing like a podcast? Of course, I'm open. But if you didn't take the chance to ask me, I would never have said yes, right? So don't be afraid to go network. Everybody's shy at some point, right? Nobody's like super excited to go networking necessarily. Nobody's are necessarily comfortable. So you're not the only one. Don't be afraid. Networking, you can get so much out of it. I would say that would be my advice. Don't be afraid to do some networking, to talk with people. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, because to a degree, there's like, I've always said, like, it's kind of like when someone first starts a job, where, especially first out of university, people say there's no bad questions. Okay, there's no bad questions, especially when you're new. And then after a while, like, yeah, there's some pretty bad questions if you don't know the answers to in a couple months. But generally, I would say, like, if someone is just very curious and wanting to learn and just, smart about things, there's no such thing as bad questions. There are bad answers. And so, like, the biggest thing is, like, as I get older, the thing is, you become more comfortable with yourself. You become more comfortable with putting yourself out there, learning from others, learning to be wrong and being comfortable with that. And that's one of the biggest, I think, contributors to anyone's personal success, whether it's on the business side of things and your personal side of things, is just when you are open to learning, genuinely curious, and just able to learn from mistakes. Because to be a business owner, everyone has to make mistakes. Who, like Jeff Bezos, he didn't start Amazon on the first go and it's like all of a sudden this rock star success. He's probably had a bajillion failures, right?
Exactly.
The point is that, like, he's actually learned from each and every one of those. As long as a mistake means something, then it's a good thing that it happened.
You need to learn from these mistakes, of course. And you mentioned something. Don't be afraid of being wrong. It's okay. It's fine. Don't be all like big ego and say, no, I'm never wrong. Don't worry. I'm always wrong. It's okay. I want to learn. It's fine. Sometimes you don't want to be wrong on really important things. But yeah, don't be afraid of being wrong. It's totally fine. Ask questions. Be curious. Being curious is like one of the most biggest assets you can have.
And one of the places where, if you're not okay learning that you can be wrong, is the place that'll punish you the most is in markets. Like, that you get punished.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Like, is it John Keynes who said the market can be irrational longer than you can stay solvent?
Oh, I think it is a Maynard Keynes.
I think
like,
it's
that
John
is,
Keynes.
yeah.
I think whatever. Someone said the market can be irrational longer than you can stay solvent.
Far longer than you could handle.
Way longer. Is like, I've learned that a ton of time, and finally I'm learning it right now, and that's fine. You need to understand it, but how many times I've entered a play because of the FOMO of fear of being wrong, fear of loss, fear of whatever. So don't be afraid of being wrong. It's part of the game. That's fine. That's fine.
Oh my gosh. I always say this, but honestly, like, every single time that I get an opportunity to do these member spotlights, I absolutely love them, because I feel like I always leave the conversation one friend richer, and I always learn something from someone. And
if ever you come visit your friend in Montreal, let me know. Let me know.
Oh, I will. But you know what? Right now, I have a 16-month-old toddler.
Bring him or her. No problem.
He is shaving years off my life. I'm so stressed. But I will actually be in Montreal at some point, because my friend decided to live there permanently. She's coming in March because she has a 5-year-old daughter. And then, like, I want to say her son is 3 months now. But I will definitely be in Quebec at some point. And then that'd be so wonderful to meet you in person.
Definitely. And we're going to teach, I don't know if it's a boy or girl, but we're going to teach your baby about finance, real estate. We're going to start really young. No problem.
Oh, that'd be so fun. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure having you. I think I've loved this podcast. I think that everyone's going to have so much to learn from it. And I myself have. So without further ado, we're going to sign off for now, everyone. But we will see you in our next episode of Member Spotlight.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the conversation. FinPod is brought to you by Corporate Finance Institute, the #1 rated online provider of finance and banking training, certifications, and productivity tools.